I always tell people, it's like the most talked about scene was, do you want to be a fucking fighter, right? That whole thing. Honestly do you think when that episode came out, I was at home going, all right, I can't wait for this episode, this is going to be fun.
I remember you.
No, I was horrified. You know, I was horrified when that thing, but it's in the moment. It's what was going on at that time when these guys, we had all this money riding on this show and on this company, and I got a gym full of guys who showed up and said, they're not going to fight. You know, that's how it went down in the way that it was. His style of shooting is fly on the wall. There's no scripting, there's no manipulating, there's no anything. You know, they show up, there's rules on how this is all going to go down, and they film it. And that's what makes, that's what I like so much about his style of shooting what's supposed to be a reality show.
Two questions, one for Dana, then maybe one for Coach and Dana. First one, Dana, I was just curious how you would compare your role in The Ultimate Fighter compared to your role that you're taking as maybe the same, maybe the different. And secondly, I didn't realize it's about guys doing smokers a lot, which is really cool. But it got me thinking, I don't know how things are in Massachusetts or whatnot, but like the second smoker I was involved in, the whole thing got shut down like 3 fights after mine. So was there any concern about things with the attention, like unwanted attention?
Two things. First of all, as far as The Ultimate Fighter goes, I mean, this is not The Ultimate Fighter. Not even close to being The Ultimate Fighter. And my role in this is I'm the executive producer with Craig. You know, over the last several years that Craig and I have been together, when we first got together and did The Ultimate Fighter, I mean, we were together 24/7. If we weren't together in the gym, we were on the phone. This happened, that happened, this happened, that happened. And I learned a lot about reality television, and he learned a lot about the fight business and how shit should be done, how it should be this, that, and everything else. So once we figured out the whole Ultimate Fighter thing, us doing a fight reality show, you know, it's a no-brainer. I wouldn't do one with anybody else. I wouldn't do another show with anybody but Craig. Number one. Number two, I'm not in this show at all. You know, you'll see my fucking name at the end or beginning, wherever he put it. That's it. And then, what was the other question?
Just about regulation and smokers and stuff.
So this is amateurs.
Okay.
So these guys in here are amateurs.
We got sanctions.
Cool. Oh, okay, so you went through all that.
We had to pay the sanctioning fees. I mean, we do smokers on a regular basis to keep the kids active, keep them busy, but we had to pay for the
You had to do all that
sanctions.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very, when you're talking about boxing and, you know, the regulating and all, it's a lot of work. And it's a headache. And that's going to be one of the things as this show makes it out of the first season, we end up in a season 2, and we end up going somewhere else. There's a lot of hoops you got to jump through. We actually have a lot of work to do on that side of the show.
It's in, if I can say, in my opinion, the smokers, not being able to have the smokers, USA APF years ago did away with them. They wouldn't cover liability. So all the gyms started to close. So you can't do smokers, you don't develop fighters, neighborhoods don't have boxers. Those are the neighborhoods that, you know, are a farm system for boxing. And now you see the result of it. The last 2 Olympics, we're not even in the running for anything. So, you know, no smokers, no fighters. And that's the farm system for boxing.
Thanks.
So a question for Craig, if I may. What is the ultimate payoff for the fighters then if these are amateur fighters? Is there a contract at the end? I know it's not the Ultimate Fighter, so.
No, and this one there wasn't. This was just pure, you know, old style, just go in there, fight, see who wins. It was just for the community.
And for the love of the sport.
For their gym and their
For the love of the sport.
Yeah.
Neighborhood pride.
Two shows in boxing failed. And one of them, at the time that it aired, was the most expensive reality show ever done. More money in sponsorship and everything else than any reality, bigger than Survivor at the time, okay? And the people that were involved with it was massive, and it didn't work. Then Oscar did The Next Great Champ, didn't work. The fact that there were 2 failed boxing shows, and we were able to get a boxing show, reality show, not only just on TV, but on Discovery. It's a big deal, you know? Discovery is, you know, some of the people that I've been talking to in some of these interviews, some realize how big Discovery really is, and others really don't get it. It's a big deal that we got this thing on Discovery. So
There's such a general audience, you know, network that it really is going to reach a wider brand. You're going to get men, women, people like you said, people who don't care about boxing but like the, you know, the characters, and then people who care about boxing will learn about the characters and like the fights. I mean, these guys come out every week and they really bang.
Yeah,
They really fight.
That's what you got to keep in mind when you're watching this show. This thing's on Discovery. We're trying to introduce boxing and the characters and get people even remotely interested in it. If you love the sport of boxing, you'll love the show. If you've never seen boxing before and could care less about it, you'll love the show. It's character driven. It's completely different than The Ultimate Fighter or any of the other shows that have been out there. And we believed it had to be. Had to be completely different. We came at it with a completely different approach.
Different viewpoint. It's completely just total. You'll see, it's totally different. It's not a tournament at all.
What was the pitch process like with Discovery? You had a pre-existing relationship with them, right? From American
I've had a
Idol?
relationship with them for 15 years.
So was that easier?
Just
because
called
of
them
that?
up.
Yeah.
Said, hey, look, I got a tape. You want to look at it? They looked at it, and they bought it.
Did you guys pitch to any other networks, or was it just Discovery?
Yeah, we had it set at another network, and it didn't go so well, so we moved it over to Discovery. And that's all I'll say about that.
Did any of the fighters have trouble adjusting to the whole reality process, such as cameras, going into their house?
Yeah, no, they really didn't. I mean, did anybody complain to you? They didn't complain to me. I mean, you know, you get used to the cameras after a day. It's not like we were that intrusive. It wasn't like we were saying, no, walk through the door 3 times, you know, take direction, all that. It just didn't happen that way.
It's like doing a feature on a guy. It's not like The Ultimate Fighter where they're on them 24/7. There's cameras set up all over their house. They never have a break. They have no contact with the outside world. These guys are just living their lives, and camera shot it.
Dana, how much of Boston played into this? Because I know, if I remember correctly, your scripted show you talked about doing a few years ago, that was going to be in Boston. Obviously, you're from
That
Boston.
was in Boston. That thing actually got finished and ended up airing, with me not a part of any of it. Me and the director didn't see eye to eye on that whole thing, and I bailed.
So how much does Boston play a role in this show even coming together?
Yeah, it was everything. I mean, it was Peter and Boston. That's really how this thing happened. It happened because of Peter.
Were there any other talents in consideration, or was it just it had to be Boston?
No, this was Peter.
This is real. This is what's real. This is real. It's what goes on. These are all real guys, and this is their life, and this is what they do.
Just so you know, there was no casting process here.
Right.
There was none of that. We didn't do any of that. We went to Boston. We had dinner with a bunch of guys on the 3rd floor, some Italian restaurant in North End. They all came out. Pete said, these are the guys that do this shit. And we said, fine. When do we start? We're starting a fucking month. Okay, we'll bring the cameras. Make sure they shut the fuck up and do it. Did their background checks. Most of them couldn't pass, but we used them anyway.
This
if I
thing
fucking
is
saw
real.
another,
It's real. It's very real.
If I saw another stab the guy in a bar, background check, that couldn't get through, I was gonna die, but we got it done. We got them all through background somehow, and they ended up being on the show.
One of the fighters got shot in the neck after the shooting.
Yeah, and one of the guys, and then the one guy, one of the coaches, I told you, coach up, the night before we were gonna start
I
shooting.
know him. He was a coach
The
with me and Peter.
night before, it was his guy that was gonna start, stabs a guy in the bar the night before. So I'm going, why did you do that? That's what happens now.
Yeah. The guy was going to be a star on the show.
Yeah.
Was going to be one of the guys, and I've known this guy for 25 years. He's an absolute character. He came out of Custody Models Camp. He used to train there with those guys and everything else. He had his own gym. He put on his own fights. The night before we're starting to shoot, he stabbed the guy.
Pete calls me.
He's off the show. See you
He
later.
calls me in the morning, early in the morning, and I'm like, it's fucking Pete. And I go, what's up? He goes, well, we got a bit of a situation. I go, what situation? We're starting to shoot. He goes, yeah, not with the one guy. He just stabbed the guy in the bottom. He's got a $10,000 bail, and we're trying to get him out or whatever it was. So I said, okay, we got a new guy.
This show is so real. It's
So
real
real.
people in the real neighborhood that they live in, and
Yeah.
this is what they do every day.
So is there a chance, the reason I ask this is because if you're a movie fan, the word Southie automatically means something to everybody. Is there a chance you would go back and do more in Boston? Because it seems like the personality there seems built in to do 10 years of it.
That's why it made the sense to do the first one there. It just, when you meet all the guys and everything, it's a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. But boxing is, I'm telling you, you guys are in MMA. MMA is so easy compared to boxing. You know how many times I get a phone call going, listen, this guy can't come, he just stabbed somebody in a bar? How about never? How about I never get that phone call, okay? That phone call never comes. In Boston, it's just like, And in boxing, I'm telling you, you talk Boston, you talk Philly, Detroit, crazy shit. Some of the craziest stuff that's ever happened to me in my life was in the boxing business, you know? Fights would break out in the middle of a gym. I mean, insane stuff. Guys would come in with guns. It's insane. The boxing world is absolutely crazy. There's a ton of characters in it, and and nobody's ever really done it. Nobody's ever really filmed that world, other than HBO. HBO does a good job of taking you inside the lives of some of these guys and all this stuff, but not like this. Not to this level.
David, what has been the response? I know that you, with you guys being on Fox and Golden Boy's on Fox as well, Oscar has, lauded you guys for what you guys have done in the world of MMA and stuff, but have you talked to Oscar at all about, what you guys are doing and stuff? I'm sure he's excited to see the show.
No, I think a lot of ears perked up when they heard that we were doing a show, and, I think I made it pretty clear. We're not taking a run at anybody or boxing. To me, personally, I'm contributing back to the sport and the guy who I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them. That's it. I mean, there's no, and like I keep saying, I don't want to get my head too far over the skis. This thing's got to air tomorrow, do well. The 8 episodes have to do well, and if we make it to a season 2, boom, then we're in business, man. We'll see what happens.
Peter, how excited are you to see, once this show airs, the response? I mean, you have a ton of guys in your gym, but I mean, when The Ultimate Fighter dropped, I mean, you saw a plethora of guys going in MMA gyms all over the place. Do you feel the same effect is going to play true with this, with this series debuting tomorrow?
I'm excited for the growth. I mean, my small plan is to build a league in Boston. There's a basketball league that I grew up in as a kid, BNBL, and it's from every borough in the city of Boston: Roxbury, Dorchester, Charlestown, Southie, you name it. And they each have at least 3 teams. I'd like to see, my vision is to have, an amateur boxing club from every district and every borough in the city of Boston. And, bring it back to the days that I used to, love. When I was fighting, and I loved the sport. Even as a little kid, my dad would take me up to the Harbor Club, the Linden, to pour me in Vegas, and I wanted so bad to fight in that card, but I was too young by the time it rolled around. It was gone. So, I mean, I'm a historian, I'm a purist in boxing, I'm a fan, I'm a former competitor, I'm a trainer. I just love it. I can't get enough of it. I'm building a new place that looks like a museum. And I'm just excited at the potential for just neighborhood boxing to grow. So that maybe
He's got a great gym in Southie. Great gym.
And if you look at what the reality show The Ultimate Fighter did with MMA and the UFC and how it helped that grow, if we do our jobs right in a different way, in a different, creative venue, what this show may help boxing grow back. I mean, for us, that's what's really the inspiration.
Or at least
making it work.
Or at least talent. Get some, like Peter said, get some talent, some recognition, and noticed, and people caring about certain characters, and who knows? I mean, anything is possible. Even The Contender. I talk about these shows not performing the way I'm sure they anticipated, but look at the guys that came off The Contender. The Contender did create some stars and some guys who went on to do big things. I mean, I was boxing with Ishe Smith. Ishe Smith and I go back, probably over 20 years, me and Ishe. And we came up in the gyms in Vegas together, and the kid ends up winning a world title. And he came off that show. So if this thing is even remotely successful, it could be very good for the sport of boxing.
Would you say it's a lot grittier, though? I mean, at this level, I got to imagine with the amateurs, even on The Ultimate Fighter, the guys where you a lot of pro fights, I got to imagine it's a lot grittier at this level.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And again, I don't want to talk too much about it and get too far, but this thing, if we can get to a season 2, what we could really do, talent-wise, be huge. Be huge. We got to get through this first. People got to like this first episode, and if they do, like Craig says, this show gets better and better and better as it goes along. So if the people are interested in the first episode, they're gonna come back for the others, because the others just get better and better. So, hopefully, let's watch it. Everybody good? Yeah?
Thank you.